All right, this is Nita K Productions Behind the Scenes podcast with another great and exclusive interview today. Today we are live on Riverside FM, of course. We're also live on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube. If you are not able to listen to this full podcast interview or you're not able to listen to this podcast interview, you can choose to listen and download it later on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, and Amazon Podcasts. Last week, when we did our last podcast interview, we did our interview with McCole Brianna White, BMF's finest and Chicago's finest. It was an amazing interview. And then we took a look inside of her singing talents and went to view her at the City Winery Chicago right after. Amazing, amazing person. Shout out to Clarissa for that amazing experience. And then now today we have this another amazing experience. And shout out to Clarissa again for this children's book author that she's brought to my attention, which is so amazing. And I am just excited for us to interview this creative that she has brought to us. Um, I have not had the opportunity of interviewing, we have not had the opportunity of interviewing a book author or children's book author at that. And so this will be the very moment and opportunity for us to do so. So without further ado, everybody that's tuning in and listening, I'm not going to even give too much away. I want Derek to go ahead and introduce himself, and then we're going to jump into it. Thank you so much, Derek, for jumping into our podcast behind the scenes today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you. It's an honor.
Yes, yes, it's so exciting. So I did too much talking already. So I just want everybody that's listening to listen to brief introduction, and then we're gonna go into specific details once you're done with that. So go ahead, go right into it.
All right. So my name's Derek Amarias, and I'm a compassionate creator. I currently live in Colleyville, Texas. I
Mm,
try to bring vibrant characters and adventures spirit to life in my writing. I have
mm,
a debut book called Sako the Flamingo with Tennis Shoes. It was published at the end of July this year, and it's making some waves. So I'd like to
yeah,
just talk about that. Thank you for
absolutely.
having me.
No, no problem. Yeah. So with you having that, it's just unique name for a children's book, and it draws so much attention. Sako the Flamingo with Tennis Shoes is a very interesting and I want to say uplifting and creative children's book that I think all children would want to get into. So before we dive into you creating this children's book, and by the way, congratulations
Oh,
for
thank you.
succeeding and accomplishing that goal. What was like, how did everything get started with Derek? Like, how did you come about being a children's book author?
It's a great question. Actually, I started my career off in finance.
Mm,
I retired 2 years ago,
mhm.
and I've been writing stories since I was like 10 years old.
Yeah,
So for me, it wasn't about reinvention, it was more reclamation of my passion for writing. And it
yeah,
also kind of kept me away from the TV. So
yeah,
it kept me busy and bringing stories to life, as I mentioned earlier, about vibrant characters. It's just something I have a passion for, and this particular story has a special place in my heart because I think I represent Sako. Sako represents a lot of myself in the story. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that's a little bit about that.
Okay, okay. And man, now I'm gonna have to get the book, and I'm gonna have this in Barnes and Nobles that I'm reading. So I'm definitely gonna have to get the book so that we can read it on our social media, let everybody across the waves know, besides putting you out here on this podcast, so that they can read the children's books to their children and so on and so forth and pass that down. So
Yes.
hopefully that does happen. So with that being said, Sako's story isn't just about a flamingo and tennis shoes, by the way. For all of you guys that are listening, as Derek stated, it's about bravery, individuality, and chasing dreams. Derek, how much of Sako's journey reflects your own life experiences?
That's such a good question. Sako's just as you mentioned, he's not just a flamingo in tennis shoes. He's
Yeah.
more of a mirror, right, for
Mhm.
myself. His journeys reflect mine in many ways that I didn't expect.
Mhm.
I felt like the odd one out on occasion, in a room.
Yeah.
But I refuse to be muted, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm gonna shine, I'm gonna shine bright. And I
Exactly.
think this story's his bravery, excuse me, isn't loud, it's intentional.
Mhm.
And that's how I've lived. I've lived intentional, quite defiant,
Yeah.
and ritualizing my uniqueness and learning to chase dreams without apology.
Exactly, exactly. And we need a lot of Sakos out here in this world because a lot of people are afraid. And you'll never know because some people will not speak out, but some people are afraid to be themselves because
Exactly.
someone else is telling them that it's wrong or make them feel that it's wrong.
Right. And
So,
it's a reminder that being different isn't a liability.
right.
It's a legacy, right? Mhm.
Absolutely. And that's what makes everybody different and unique. And
Mhm.
people don't understand that nowadays. So it's made to feel wrong or be wrong. So there's a lot less people that's out there. And this is what ties into Sako's story. And it can be turned into real life situations like you're stating. So this could really connect with others. Um,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I really enjoy that and love this. So just speaking off and just to stop briefly about the questions that I'm going to ask you, it really is a children's book, but it also can not only help children, it could help adults too, the ones that are reading the book to their children.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. So so how do you feel about um how empowering that feels to not only to be able to connect with children but the adults that are reading the book or giving the children book. How empowered do you feel with that?
It's it's exciting, and the fact that it's resonating with people, adults alike, as
Yeah.
well as children. I mean, the firsthand experience that I've gotten as far as feedback has just been overwhelming. So I'm real
Yeah.
excited. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And that ties into my next question. With children's literature often planting seeds that stay with them for a lifetime, what role do you think your children's books can play in shaping a child's self esteem and worldviews?
That's such a good question. My opinion is children's books are like emotional architecture.
Hmm.
I believe children's literature should plant seeds of self-worth, empathy, and more possibility for the readers. So
Yeah,
when a child is able to see themselves in a story, not just their face, but their feelings, they
yes,
begin to believe they matter.
absolutely.
And I write to give kids emotional language to help them name their spark before anybody tries to dim it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's amazing because it's time to bring back um book authors such as yourself back into encouraging children. There's so much going on in this world, socially, and in your household. There's so much going on in the world that children and adults need some sense of belonging. And you never know, like you said, and like I was mentioning, it really could make that person. You never know what it can turn into.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Right.
It can
And
really help that person.
yeah, one thing I think that separates this particular book from others, like in the self-esteem category, is the fact that there's no deficit, right? My
Right.
character's not trying to fit in.
Right.
He's just already bold, already dancing. So
Right.
I like that empowerment that it gives people that their quirkiness or their difference is their superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before I dive into the other questions, I have some questions personally on my own. Do you like so far with your journey with your children's books for Sako, have you like what have you accomplished so far with this journey? Can you give us like a brief play by play of how it has went for you since this book has been published?
Well, the book's just been out for a little over a month now, so it's been going really well, and it's been exciting for me, just understanding and learning from the process.
Yeah,
The whole, anybody who writes a book, once the story's done, like me, I was thinking, oh, I'm done. It's great.
yeah,
Let's get it out there. But then once you get with the publisher, and I chose to self-publish, which is a challenge on its own, finding,
yeah,
making sure you're working with a reputable publisher that can give you what you need.
right.
So I chose a publisher that delivered customizable aspects, components that I needed.
Mhm.
And it's just been a learning process. And one of my biggest takeaways for me was um, during the editing process, working
Yeah,
with illustrators, it became quite a project. And that was new and exciting to me to go through that because it was something that I wasn't expecting.
right. Yeah, it really is. It's like you
So,
said, once you
yeah.
think you're done, you're not done.
Yeah, you're not done, right? It says, okay, now we have to do this and this and this and this. And it's like, oh, project meeting after project meeting. It's like, oh, okay. I thought I just wrote the book and somebody else handled that. But no,
Right.
just being involved in it to see how it started, even just from words on paper to the
Yeah,
finished product, it nearly brought a tear to my eye because I was so moved. But I was just like, it was what I intended. And
right.
I'm glad it happened the way it did. So it's
Absolutely.
been a great learning experience.
Yes, so you get to actually firsthand see how the
Mhm.
process goes instead of having someone else do it, so that if in the future you would like to do and publish a book again, you'll be able to do it on your own and you'll know what to use or what not to use. So that'll be great for you to be able to do that. You may can pass that along to someone else.
Exactly.
And even create courses, that
Mhm.
can turn into so many other things. Uh,
Yeah, and that's something that, as you mentioned, creating courses because,
yeah.
well, aside from the publishing part, but what I've discovered from this particular story is that it's so tied into the social emotional learning
Yep.
that are needed in schools now.
Yep.
So I am in the process of creating classroom kits and affirmation decks and
Yeah,
even music in the future, so um
absolutely.
that all just kind of with that same focus that, you know, I'm brave, I'm radiant, and I belong.
Absolutely. Because my next question was gonna be, are you thinking in the future to add on Sako as like a animation, like how they do Miss like they used to do Miss Tab
Yeah.
or I forget the other ones, but something like that. So like you said, can implement it in the schools and they can play Sakos like learning course in the
Mhm.
schools or play it as a short film or something. You can take Sacco, like, everywhere with paraphernalia, all type of stuff.
Exactly. So, yes, that is the end goal. Again, it's my first foray into this realm, so I don't
Yeah,
know how long it takes or what dues I have to pay to get there, but that is definitely an end goal for me. Is to have an animated series, which is why I'm creating a universe for the
right.
Sako. Sako has its own universe, and there are other books and stories that I've already written
Mhm.
that will be eventually released just to continue the stories of that are kind of tie in. So
Right. Oh, wow. So I am learning, like I mentioned earlier, your book has been selected as Barnes& and Noble's Children's Reading Reading Nook Author of the Week, just in time for National Literacy Month. I mean, that's got to be exciting. Like, I love Barnes and Nobles. I used to, as a kid, go to Barnes and Nobles. I believe it used to be in Hyde Park in Chicago, and I used to go in there and read books. So that is amazing to be able to be chosen for that. Now, with that being said, September is National Literacy Month, which celebrates the power of reading. What does literacy mean to you personally, and how do you see your work contributing to that mission?
so literacy to me isn't just reading, right?
Mhm.
Um, for me, it's how do I say this? Um, Literacy it's more than just decoding letters on a page. For
Right.
me, it's about unlocking a child's voice,
Mhm.
giving them agency and imagination. And when
Mm,
children learn to read, they begin to understand the world around them and shape the world kind of within them as well. So
absolutely.
literacy gives them, I think, the tools to name their feelings, ask questions, and actually dream out loud. I think it's more of emotional empowerment disguised as an academic skill.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree. Um, it definitely does give children a voice. It's giving them the opportunity to connect what they feel and
Mhm.
be able to speak it, like you said, and put it on paper.
Right.
So because there may be children who are autistic or who may not know, not able to speak and they're deaf. So there's different ways that that can carry on to get children and adults to understand how to voice their feelings and what they think and feel.
Exactly. And then I think it kind of moves beyond that too, because actually, once they're able to name it, they can move from I feel to I choose, right? And
Yes.
so I think it's just, it's very important and I'm happy to be a part of it. That's, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's just so much to it. But yes, and that's how I view literacy.
Yeah, it's so exciting. It's giving me ideas to definitely we would when we have an event because we created our company originally, for children. um, Being able to connect and speak with you as a children's book author, I'm thinking of reaching out to you and Clarissa for us when we have a future event for children to come and present your book or come and read a story if you're able to, and just have a big event just specialized for children. That'd be, I mean,
I'd love that. That sounds amazing.
yeah, it would be like a children's day, just putting the plan in motion of what we have. It, I mean, this will be great, and I mean, there are children and there are parents that
Hmm.
would love to go to events where they can bring their children and
Right,
to
right,
have
yeah.
fun. So that would be great, and it can be specialized specifically for National Literacy Month every year. So you have a lot of good things going on here. Now, with you being a children's book author and giving back to the community, how do you envision your writing becoming part of a larger legacy of service and inspiration for younger readers?
Well, when I think of service, service to me isn't just like a donation, it's more of like devotion.
Yeah.
So I kind of see my writing hopefully having like a ripple, each book, in a
Mhm.
way, I hope to have it say that you matter to a child who might need to hear it otherwise.
Absolutely.
So I want, Sako's universe, you know, kind of be like a sanctuary, if you will,
Mhm.
or like a place where kids can feel brave enough to just to be themselves.
Yeah.
That's the legacy I'm hoping to build, and maybe one story at a time, but definitely that's the intention.
Absolutely. And I'm just unlocking things as you're talking and you're unfolding so much knowledge. You can even expand to children who are dealing with social workers, like children with autism or
Hmm.
whatnot. You can get them, encourage them, and maybe children who don't want to speak because they don't know how to filter their emotions. And I mean, schools, you can even implement it into hospitals and clinics. Like,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, the
So
way,
I'm hoping. I mean, the possibilities are always endless, right? So I'm just hoping to make the impact where I can, and I've got a few books that I've been donating to local schools here locally,
okay.
a couple libraries as well. But I think we also have a few going to St. Jude Hospital, as you mentioned.
Ooh,
Um, for hospital donations as well for their children's unit.
yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. And I would like if I mean, just to dig back, where are you originally from and where are you located?
I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
Kind of grew up, went to school in San Antonio, and then I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Lived out in Phoenix, Arizona for about 21 years, and I recently moved back to Texas. So now I'm in North Texas. I'm in Dallas, Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex area,
Yeah.
specifically in Colleyville, Texas.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where home is now.
Okay, so I mean, I know you're just getting started. Also, I'm like, I know you're like, oh my goodness, you got so many ideas. You're pushy. Are you looking, or are you going to? Because I mean, we're based in Chicago. I wouldn't mind planning if we could plan in the future, however it goes. But we would love for you to come out here to some of the children's hospitals or even some events, anything of some sort that's tied to what you are incorporating in adults and children's lives, because that's something that is needed here in Chicago
Yes.
for a lot of people. Um, we love that you are starting where you're based and expanding and branching out. So that would be something that we would, I mean, Chicago needs a lot of help, and the starting point will be the children and the adults, but it'd be great if we can start with the children here because they need a lot of care and a lot of attention out here.
Yes.
So the focus and the direction that you're going with your children's books, I would purchase some myself for our company, and having to explain the purpose. Like you said, Sako isn't just a flamingo with tennis shoes. He's more than that. So I would love for either you or us. I mean, I want to blast this across even before I get the book, because a lot of parents and a lot of children would need to hear what you have going on.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
I'm I'm always up for Chicago.
yeah, okay. And
Yeah,
then
let's do it.
two, yeah, let's play it. And then two, I do have one last question. What advice would you give to someone who is starting off just being a book author, period?
I would say, um, watch your edits. Well, just depending, um,
Yeah.
because I've written. This is my first children's book to be published, and
Uh-huh.
my challenge with the children's book is that when I was working with an illustrator, um, my I get these amazing illustrations
Yeah.
that weren't quite what I was looking for, but they're so amazing, right? So
Yeah.
then I started editing the story to fit the illustration. And
Mm,
I was doing that so much that eventually there came a point where, hey, I'm losing my story, but for these amazing illustrations. So I had to learn to kind of say, push back and say, oh, that's great, but
right.
doesn't fit what I'm looking for. So, that there comes a point in time where you have to kind of stop and say, no, it's great, but it's not, doesn't fit in line with my vision for the story. So, but I worked with an amazing illustrator who was able to get that done for
Right.
me. And another part of the process that I guess I'm still learning as an author is, when am I done?
Right.
Right? Because everybody wants to be perfect, but if it's going to be perfect, it'll never be done, right? Because
Uh-huh.
just by I don't know, in my mind, nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Right.
So I think that's just something that I'm just coming to learn to be comfortable with, is it good enough? And just kind of parting ways with it at that time.
Absolutely. That I mean, I hope that people that are listening out there that want to publish books just know it's not an easy road. I mean, none of what we do is easy, but it's all a process. And if you're
Mhm.
dedicated, such as Derek, you will find that you will go super, super far. And you have done that. Um, do you
Thank
have
you, Nita.
I mean, I'm just like shocked, like Clarissa was like, "Do you wanna interview Derek? He is just rolled out his book." I was like, I had to blink twice, like, "What?" Yes, of course. We love people who are, and not just people, creatives such as yourself. We love creatives that have something new coming out. It's their first time doing it or first time putting it out there. We love doing that. We don't shy away from anything that creatives have going on. So this was definitely another amazing opportunity. So shout out to Clarissa and shout out to you, Derek, for agreeing to do this podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. And it's an honor, as I mentioned. It's a pleasure.
Yes. And before I go ahead and get up off of this podcast, do you have any closing remarks before we close out today?
I would say, um, Pick up a book, read the story, or check us out at Sacco at all socials, Sacco the Flamingo at allsocials.com.
Yes, thank you so much, Derek, for dropping by. And thank you guys for tuning and listening in again to Behind the Scenes with Nita K Productions LLC. Check us out when we have another podcast interview. You never know who we have running through and rolling through our studio. I do want to thank you guys again for tuning in to our podcast interview with Derek, the amazing children books author. Um, if you missed this interview on Twitch, Facebook, or on Riverside, you can always catch it later on tomorrow on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Once again, this is Nita K, and I am closing and signing out. Thanks so much, and have a good weekend.